And now the American-Russian competition as well. So you've got to try and de-escalate all of that.
If you would like to ask Emma a question,
I've depressed them all.
go to my right first. Hello.
Thank you very much to the Wheeler Centre and the guest. This was absolutely fantastic. You have verified my whole understanding of the last 15 years in the Middle East. I suspect that some of the people in the audience are not so pleased with what you've had to say. On weapons of mass destruction, I've got a book here by Hans Bleeks, and he met with Condoleezza Rice in January 2003, shortly before the Gulf War, and he says, "At this stage, my gut feeling was still that Iraq retained weapons of mass destruction." Now, it turned out he was wrong. George Bush was wrong. Tony Blair was wrong. But I think there was a reasonable expectation amongst people who were in the know that this was a matter that was not resolved.
And indeed, John Howard.
I figured I wasn't going to mention John Howard here. Do you think that following the first Gulf War, it would have been better had they deposed Saddam Hussein then, or not?
A lot of people look at the first Gulf War as a model for war. So it was short, clear objectives, no mission creep, had a good coalition, came together, go in, go out. But Saddam was never forced to come and sign a peace agreement, an armistice. And he hailed it as the mother of all battles because he was still in power. And the assumption in the West, President Bush the Elder's assumption was the humiliation of such a defeat would lead to him being overthrown. And that's why President Bush called for Iraqis to rise up and overthrow him. So they did rise up. And basically they thought America was coming to help. And America and the UK were willing to impose a no-fly zone in the north to protect the Kurds, but nothing was done in the south. And with the helicopter gunships, Saddam's Republican forces basically murdered, we don't know, 100,000 people in a short period of time. So Saddam was a problem. He had been a problem for the region, a problem for the country for a long time. And when you look at the interrogation reports of Saddam after he was captured, Saddam had this whole deception plan to pretend he had weapons of mass destruction because he wanted to show force, because he was worried that Israel or Iran would attack. So there was this whole deception, but he thought that surely the CIA knew that he didn't have them. And when you look at the CIA's reports, they fault themselves on the lack of imagination, because he did everything, all this stuff with the weapons inspectors, he did everything that looked like he was guilty. His own officers around him, the ones that we captured, thought he had weapons of mass destruction. But he just thought that we obviously knew that he didn't. So it was a very successful deception plan.